Thierry has always dreamed of taking a solo cruise, a chance to unwind without schedules or obligations, just her and the endless sea. The first few days were everything she hoped for: long stretches of reading, quiet dinners by candlelight, and hours spent staring at the waves from her balcony, letting her thoughts drift with the currents. One evening, as the sun began to deep below the horizon, Thierry leaned over the balcony rail, gazing at the darkened water. She let her eyes follow the rhythm of the waves, almost hypnotized. But then something broke the surface, a flash of movement, a shadow deeper than the ocean itself. She squinted, trying to focus on a spot where she'd seen it, but whatever it was had already disappeared, swallowed by the waves. "It's just the lights playing tricks on me," she muttered to herself, pulling her shawl tighter around her shoulders. She brushed it off, choking it up to exhaustion and maybe a touch of imagination. After all, she had been alone for a few days. Now perhaps her mind was craving some excitement. That night, unable to sleep, Thierry found herself drawn back to the balcony. She opened the sliding door and stepped out into the cool air, staring once more at the dark expanse of the water. The silence was absolute, broken only by the soft hum of the ship as it cut through the sea. She was about to go back inside, reassuring herself it had just been a trick of the eye, when she saw it again. A dark shape lurking just beneath the surface, closer this time, almost directly below her. Her breath caught. "It's nothing, just a shadow of the waves," she thought, forcing herself to look away. She walked back inside, closing the sliding door behind her with a sense of finality, willing herself to let it go. But she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Thierry sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the reflection of the balcony doors in the mirror across the room. She took a few deep breaths, hoping her unease would fade with reason. Then suddenly, there was a sound, a soft rhythmic tapping on the glass of the sliding door. Thierry froze, her heart pounding. The tapping continued, a patient, almost curious sound. Slowly she got up, feet barely making a sound on the carpet, her hands trembling as she reached for the curtain. She pulled it aside in one swift motion and stiffed a scream. There, pressed against the glass, was a face, its skin a sickly grayish blue, shimmering with scales that glistened like wet stone. Two large black eyes, deep and unblinking, met hers, staring with an intensity that felt both ancient and hungry. Its mouth was thin slit, almost human but wrong, twisted in something that resembled a smile. It didn't blink, it didn't move, it just stared, pressing its face against the glass as if testing a barrier between them. Paralyzed with terror, Thierry took a step back, her mind racing. She thought she might be dreaming as she'd fallen asleep and was caught in some nightmarish vision. But the tapping had been real, and the thing pressed against her window was still there, watching, unblinking. Suddenly its hands, if that's what it could be called, rose slowly, almost gracefully, and pressed against the glass. The fingers were long and webbed, displaying out of the unnatural way, leaving a damp print on the glass as it tapped once more, harder this time, as if beckoning her to closer. She stumbled back, her breath coming in ragged gasps, desperate to wake up from the nightmare, but the creature didn't disappear. It simply watched her, head tilting slightly as if studying her reaction, tapping again and again and again and again, patiently waiting. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, Thierry grabbed a nearby blanket and threw it over the glass, blocking out the sight of the creature. She backed away, her whole body shaking as she slid down to the floor, pressing her back against the bed. For hours she sat there, heart pounding, straining her ears for the faintest sound. The tapping eventually stopped, but the feeling of those eyes on her lingered, burning her into her memory. She didn't dare look out the balcony doors again, afraid of what might still be watching just beyond the glass in the endless, dark depths of the sea. And that night hunted her. It hunted her for the rest of her days.